Hello, Bloomington. I'm Mayor Tim Bussey, and this is the Council Minute for the week of January 24th. On Monday night, the City Council received a public safety update from Police Chief Mike Hartley. It was a start-of-the-year check-in with the Chief, where he reviewed public safety statistics from last year, outlined the collaborative work the BPD is doing across the community, and talked about goals and plans for 2022. The Chief's presentation included a lot of detail and a lot of graphs and a lot of numbers, which I'm only going to highlight here today. I know this is an important topic for many people, and I would really encourage you to take a few minutes to watch the entire presentation if you're able. As he typically does, the Chief provided a year-to-year comparison of public safety statistics that are specific to Bloomington. He used numbers from the National Incident-Based Reporting System, and the Chief focused on crimes that BPD describes as priority crimes. From 2020 to 2021, Bloomington saw some interesting differences in those priority crimes. The most violent and personal crimes like homicide and rape were down significantly, which is obviously a good thing. Other crimes like burglary, robbery, and auto theft were up, which is obviously concerning. If you move beyond the priority crimes and look at the increases in crimes that the National Incident-Based Reporting System describes as crimes against society, the numbers are really striking. In the category of crimes against society, drug-related crimes increased 38%, and weapons-related crimes increased almost 80% from 2020 to 2021. Logically, increases in those two categories are likely very closely related to the increases in many of the other categories. And I do want to stress, the numbers here in Bloomington are not unique in any way. Cities of all sizes in all regions of the country are seeing similar patterns. This is certainly not just a localized problem. The Chief also outlined priorities for 2022. And in addition to doing the work necessary to make those crime numbers move in a downward direction, Chief Hartley talked about a focus on employee wellness. Police work is a hard profession. The Chief is committed to focusing on mental wellness and all aspects of keeping his department healthy. He also discussed plans to review patrol staffing, a concentration on mental health and crisis intervention response, recruiting, hiring, and retention of police officers, and other priorities. Chief Hartley also talked at length about the many strong, proactive agency collaborations the Bloomington Police Department has established over the years. He emphasized a very successful collaboration with Hennepin County that embeds social workers within the Bloomington Police Department to help with calls that require a different kind of public safety response. Bloomington actually has the benefit of two embedded social workers, one focusing on mental health and the other on drug addiction. In 2021, those social workers dealt with more than 1,000 referrals. That's a 25% increase from 2020. Without a doubt, the collaboration between these social workers and the Bloomington Police Department is a huge plus for this community. Public safety will continue to be a top priority for Bloomington in 2022. There are no quick or easy solutions to the issues in front of us, but I can promise you that your elected officials, your city staff, and most importantly, your Bloomington Police Department will continue to work together to keep Bloomington safe. On Monday night, the City Council approved a resolution that moves forward the possibility of a local option sales tax here in Bloomington. That resolution of support will now go to the state legislative tax committees for their consideration. There was a lot of good input from community members at Monday night's public comment opportunity and very good conversation and questions from the council. Because this is such an important topic, here's a quick rundown once again on a Bloomington sales tax. A Bloomington sales tax would be a half-cent added to sales tax charged within the boundaries of the city. Rather than that half-cent going to the state of Minnesota, revenue collected through the Bloomington sales tax would stay right here in Bloomington. The tax would only apply to items that are currently taxable, meaning that items such as clothes and groceries and school lunches would still not be taxed. Now, it's estimated that this local sales tax would generate approximately $11 million each year. And given the size and the strength of the Bloomington retail economy, it's estimated that 75% of a Bloomington sales tax would be paid for by visitors to Bloomington. 25% would be paid for by Bloomington residents. Now, this is according to an independent analysis by the University of Minnesota Extension Center for Community Vitality. And to be clear, these folks are the subject matter experts on this topic. They have done this type of study for cities across Minnesota, and their data analysis is accepted and is respected. The revenue collected would be used for specific capital projects, and state law requires those projects to be regionally significant. The projects proposed include a substantial renovation of Bloomington Ice Garden at a cost of $32 million, a new community health and wellness center to replace our public health building and Creekside Community Center at a cost of $70 million, a total replacement of the clubhouse at Dwan Golf Course, as well as extensive course improvements and upgrades at a cost of $15 million, and an expansion of the Bloomington Center for the Arts that would add a concert hall at a cost of $33 million. As you may have heard me talk about before, this is important in the context of Bloomington's capital investment needs. Many of our physical assets in Bloomington are in need of significant investment or replacement. For years, one of the top priorities of city elected officials and staff and residents was to keep property taxes as low as possible, which is a great goal, and Bloomington succeeded under that model for decades. But the flip side was an underinvestment in some of our physical capital, our buildings, and now we're at a point where significant reinvestment is needed. A Bloomington sales tax would reduce homeowners' share of the cost to improve these facilities, spreading the cost across a broader geographic area to support amenities that serve the region. So, what would it cost each household in Bloomington? If $11 million is collected through a Bloomington sales tax, Bloomington residents would pay 25%, or about $2.75 million. Spread across Bloomington's 38,000 households, that would be about $72 of additional sales tax each year. In comparison, if we decided to pay for these facility improvements through the property tax levy, the property tax bill for a median value home in Bloomington would increase by about $210 a year. So the cost each year for a median value home to fund the 4 city facilities proposed for improvements, $72 from the Bloomington sales tax versus $210 from property taxes. Here are the next steps. As I mentioned, the resolution will be delivered to the state tax committees, and the state legislature will consider Bloomington's request. If the request is passed as part of the legislature's final tax bill, and we'd know that by the end of May, the request would come back to the city for final approval by Bloomington voters. Residents would have the opportunity to vote on a Bloomington sales tax for each project separately, probably during the general election in November of 2022. If a Bloomington sales tax is approved, it would go into effect by the second quarter of 2023, and the sales tax would remain in effect until the projects are paid for, or for up to 20 years, whichever comes first. So there is an official sunset of this tax. In the coming months, you'll be hearing a lot more about the proposed Bloomington sales tax and the 4 community improvement projects it would fund. There's already a lot of information available. The city website has a very good frequently asked questions section. It includes links to all of our council discussions on this topic and links also to the information sheets on the 4 proposed projects. I'm looking forward to this important community conversation. And finally, on Monday night, the City Council passed a formal resolution declaring a climate emergency in Bloomington. By doing so, we joined a growing number of cities in Minnesota and across the nation that have officially gone on record saying that ongoing climate change is going to have an adverse impact on the economic well-being and the quality of life of our residents, and that it's time to do something about it. It's hard to ignore the signs of a changing climate here in Minnesota. Just over a month ago, in mid-December, 20 tornadoes touched down during a severe weather outbreak in southern Minnesota. That doesn't happen. Last summer, we saw severe droughts that fueled wildfires and the dirtiest air on record here in the Twin Cities. Like many of you, I'm a gardener. Over the past 2 decades, I've seen firsthand the changes in my garden of what I can grow and when I can grow it. This resolution came to us from the Bloomington Sustainability Commission. They have talked about this at length and ultimately passed a motion recommending that the City Council approve the resolution. Through the great work of the Sustainability Commission and city staff, Bloomington has set and is working towards some important sustainability goals right here at the local level. The city's Energy Action Plan is a good example of the goals we've set to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the community. It's also a good example of how we have a lot of work to do to reach those goals. This resolution we passed on Monday says that Bloomington is committed to working towards an inclusive and equitable climate emergency mobilization effort. That means we will continue to work toward our Energy Action Plan goals, that we will partner with other cities and community organizations to develop new ideas. It means we will engage with Bloomington residents and leaders, that will continue to implement Green Step City's best practices, and wherever possible, will work toward climate change and sustainability measures. Most importantly, the resolution calls on state and federal leaders to step up in this effort. Cities are a mighty group, but we cannot do it alone. We need to see innovative and aggressive action plans at the state and federal level to address this crisis. For more information on how you can help, visit the web address on the screen. That is a wrap for this week's Council Minute. Thank you very much for tuning in. Until next time, stay safe, Bloomington.